Jessica Frost-Ballas here with the newest installment of the Interactive Cards by Jess series for Simon Says Stamp. Today I've created a suspended shaker using the beautiful mermaid set from Simon Says Stamp and a ton of sparkly shaker sequence drops. So let's get started. First I'm creating a soft, distress ink background by smushing tumbled glass, peacock feathers, mermaid lagoon, blueprint sketch, and chipped sapphire ink onto a scrap piece of acetate. I spritz the inks with water and use my fingers to blend them around. Then I press the acetate to my watercolor paper and let the ink soak in. I lift the acetate and then blot the excess ink off with a paper towel. Without cleaning the acetate, I add a little more dark ink, spritz it again, and smush it back on my watercolor paper. I repeat this process several times until I'm happy with the coverage. Once the panel is dry, I spritz it a few times with plain water and blot off the excess to lighten areas. I also splatter it with more distress ink and spritz it with Avery L shimmer spray for a super sparkly look. I let the panel dry completely and then stamp a sentiment from Beautiful Mermaids with VersaFine and heat emboss it with clear embossing powder. Off camera, I stamped the pretty swimming mermaid, colored her with Copic markers, and then die cut her with the coordinating die. I also die cut a second mermaid outline with white cardstock. I applied a mix of ATG adhesive and liquid adhesive to the white die cut outline and then sandwiched a piece of clear Singer thread between the mermaids. This will allow me to suspend the mermaid within the shaker, so she has a little room to shake but won't end up in any weird positions. In retrospect, this technique would have been a little easier to see if I had used a smaller image or a larger card base, but you'll get the general idea as we go along. Next, I die cut a frame a little smaller than the A2 panel using the Hero Arts Nesting Infinity rectangle dies and the Simon Says Stamp WONKY rectangle dies. I applied adhesive to the back of the frame and adhered acetate to create a shaker window. Then I applied a single layer of foam mounting tape to the frame over the acetate. I left the backing on the adhesive so that I could play around with my mermaid placement without getting the frame stuck to the background panel. I used a little bit of purple tape to hold the thread in place on the front of the panel and then turned the panel over. Next, I carefully peeled the backing off the foam tape and pressed the thread into the tape. Then I took a second layer of foam mounting tape and laid it over the first, carefully wrapping the thread around the second layer to hold it in place securely. I repeated the process for the other end of the thread and then added a second layer of foam tape to the sides of the shaker too. This allows the mermaid to wiggle slightly within the confines of the shaker card, but she won't move so much as to be seemingly floating upside down. Never a good look for a sea creature. And since the frame of my shaker is slightly smaller than the background panel, I needed to assemble the shaker kind of backwards. I carefully scattered my shaker elements on the background panel, and then made sure all the drops were right side up and contained towards the center of the panel. Then I trimmed the thread ends, removed the adhesive backing on the shaker panel, and adhered it over the background panel. Now my sequenced drops move freely, but my mermaid just shimmies back and forth within the shaker. And that's it! I hope this gives you some new ideas for your shaker cards. Thanks so much for joining me, and until next time, happy crafting! Bye!